got some of the early games going final. Some of them are coming down the stretch right now. Really, nothing is close other than this Detroit-Arizona game. So we're just going to give you them as you come. Probably break the first set of games down into two parts. Then, of course, the second set of games, we'll do the 4 o'clock games and then the Sunday night games. So we'll get started here. The Baltimore Ravens 20-0 over the Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't realize it would get that bad for the Bengals. You look at the box score for the Ravens. Joe Flacco, 9 of 17, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Terrence West was able to run the ball, 19 carries for 80 yards. That's 4.2 yards per rush, 1 touchdown. Javoris Allen, 21 carries for 71 yards, 3.4 yards per rush. Altogether, the team 42 carries of 157 yards for 1 touchdown. That's 3.7 yards per rush. So a team that's not even averaging 4 yards per carry is running the ball 42 times, but you're able to do that because Cincinnati didn't score any points. Jeremy Maclin, 2 receptions, 56 yards, a touchdown. Danny Woodhead, 3 for 33. Some questions as to whether or not Danny Woodhead would play. Michael Pierce recovered a fumble. Michael Campanaro fumbled and recovered his own. A lot of sacks for the Ravens, 5 in total. Terrell Suggs did not, or excuse me, Terrell Suggs did have 2 of them, so hats off to him. Tony Jefferson 1, Michael Pierce had 1, and Zadarius Smith had the other. C.J. Mosley, Brandon Carr, Ladarius Webb, and Jimmy Smith all had interceptions. Michael Campanaro, 3 returns for 23 yards. That's not very good at all. Or that was punt returns, which is still not great, but that's not terrible for punt returns. Justin Tucker, 2 for 2 in his field goals. For the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously it was not a good day for Andy Dalton, 16 of 31, 170 yards, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Giovanni Bernard, 7 carries for 40 yards, 5.7 yards per rush. Jeremy Hill, 6 for 26, 4.3. 22 of 77 for 3.5 yards per rush. Those numbers came down because Joe Mixon was 8 carries for 9 yards, 1.1 yards per rush, so they need more from him. A.J. Green, 5 for 74 in the receiving game. Giovanni Bernard, 1 for 39. Brandon LaFell, 3 for 24. Nothing really of note there in the receiving games. John Ross does not look like he played. Andy Dalton lost a fumble, so he was 5 turnovers. That's not good at all, of course. Geno Atkins did have a sack. It was the only sack. Nick Vigil had an interception. And no field goals, obviously nothing of note in the return games. All right, so for the Cincinnati Bengals, we'll start with them. Clearly a season that I felt could go downhill for them and go downhill for them much more than the 6-10 I projected. Clearly, if their offense isn't going to play better than this, you would see that happening. For the Baltimore Ravens, they ran the ball a lot. That's the biggest concern I have with this Ravens team is their running game. 42 carries, but not even 4 yards per carry, only 3.5 yards per carry. So they really have to step that up. You can get away with that when you're winning and the other team's offense is not doing anything. Of course, you're going to run the ball a lot more. But, what can you make of Baltimore after this game? There's really not much you can say or not say because Cincinnati clearly just didn't have it. The next game, the Oakland Raiders did get the victory. I had picked the Tennessee Titans. It was 26-16. Derek Carr for the Raiders, 22 of 32, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. A very good game for him. Marshawn Lynch coming back for his first game in a while. 18 carries, 76 yards, 4.2 yards per rush. Jalen Richard, 5 for 22, 4.4. Cordell Patterson, wide receiver, had a rush for 5 yards. Altogether, the team 29 of 109. 3.8 yards per rush. Those numbers were brought down by 3 of 4 by DeAndre Washington and 2 of 2 by Derek Carr. So essentially, Oakland was over the 4 yards per carry mark other than those rushes by Derek Carr. I think those were kneel downs. Michael Crabtree, 6 for 83 in the receiving game. Amari Cooper, 5 for 62 and a touchdown. Seth Roberts had a 19-yard touchdown reception. Jalen Richard fumbled. It was not lost. Only 1 sack, which was split between Mario Edwards and Justin Ellis. So Mario Edwards, we talked about him, could be a breakout year. Cordero Patterson, a good returner, had a 41-yard kick return. Nothing of note really in the punt returns. Grigor Tavecchio, I didn't even realize Sebastian Janikowski isn't kicking anymore, was 4 for 4 in his field goals, unless Janikowski changed his name. I'm wondering about that, because it sure looked like him when I saw a field goal get kicked, so I don't know what is going on. Marcus Mariota, 25 of 41, 256 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, so he did not turn the ball over, a lot of incompletions. That's something I worry about with Mariota. DeMarco Murray, 12 carries, 44 yards, 3.7 yards per rush. Marcus Mariota, 3 for 26, 8.7 yards per rush. Derrick Henry, 6 for 25, 4.2 yards per rush. Mariota had the rushing touchdown. So altogether, 21 of 95, 4.5 yards per rush. They ran the ball fairly effectively. They did better than Oakland, even though, as we said, with Oakland, those numbers were brought down by the core kneel downs, but just still not enough for Marcus Mariota. He's got to step up. Delaney Walker, of course, the tight end, the favorite receiver of Marcus Mariota, 7 receptions, 76 yards. Rashard Matthews, 5 for 71. Corey Davis, 6 for 69. No fumbles. The team had 2 sacks. Derek Morgan did have one of them. Wesley Woodyard the other. Adoree Jackson, the rookie, a 35-yard kick return. Ryan Suckup, 3 for 4 in his field goals. So, I was wrong about Tennessee in this game. Oakland, clearly a good team. I just thought Tennessee at home on this one would get the better of Oakland traveling. They were not able to. Marcus Mariota has got to clean up the incompletions. It's been a problem for him for most of his career. What can you say about Oakland? They were all the way around very good. Their defense, you would have liked to see more sacks, but Mario Edwards did get half a sack, and that speaks to what I've been talking about with the Oakland Raiders and Mario Edwards. This is a guy who needs to, lean on Khalil Mack, needs to lean on Bruce Irvin, use those guys to take up a lot of the pressure off him and allow him to get sacks, a lot of the offensive line play off him to get sacks. So that's something I want to see him continue to develop with moving forward. We'll do this one. I told you about this game. I was worried about it. It didn't surprise me. The Jacksonville Jaguars 29-7 over the Houston Texans. I picked Houston because last year I went with Jacksonville and I said I'm not doing it again. But we'll give you the box score and then get into my feelings on this game. Blake Bortles was not very good at all. Only 11 of 21, 125 yards, but no interceptions with 1 touchdown. Leonard Fournette, 26 carries, 100 yards, under 4 yards per carry. Did have a touchdown, but they had such a big lead, like we discussed with the Baltimore Ravens, you can get away with it. Chris Ivory, 9 for 42, 3.7 yards per rush. Blake Bortles has always been a good rusher in his career, 3 for 13, 4.3. So 39 carries, 155 yards, 4 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. Allen Hurns, 3 receptions for 42 yards. Allen Robinson left this game. I don't think he returned. He had a 1-yard or 17-yard reception. Leonard Fournette, 3 for 24. Distributed the ball very nicely, did Bortles in this one, even though he only had 11 completions. 2, 4, 6, 7 guys caught passes, but 5 of them only caught 1. Avery Jones, Dante Fowler Jr., and Yannick Ngakoue all recovered fumbles. Nice to see Dante Fowler Jr. playing well. A lot of sacks in this game. Calais Campbell had 4. Yannick Ngakoue had 2. Dante Fowler Jr. had 1. We'll get into him at the end of the game. Laurenti McLeod had 1.5. Avery Jones had another half sack. 10 sacks in this game. Malik Jackson had a sack. They're just popping up all over the place. Tashawn Gibson had an interception. He returned at 67 yards, did not get a touchdown, however. Jason Myers, 3 of 4 in his field goals. For the Houston Texans, they started with Tom Savage. We'll talk about the quarterback situation at the end. 7 of 13, 62 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Deshaun Watson did come in, 12 for 23, 1 touchdown, 1 interception on 102 yards. So it's not like he was, much better, but he was in a situation where he was forced to pass the ball. I'll go into that at the end. Lamar Miller, 17 carries, 65 yards. Deshaun Watson, 2 carries, 16 yards. Altogether, the team 23 of 94 for 4 yards per rush. It was 3.8 for Miller, 8 yards per carry for Deshaun Watson. DeAndre Hopkins, 7 receptions, 55 yards. He had a touchdown. C.J. Fedorowicz, 4 of 46. Lamar Miller, 2 of 31. Tyler Ervin, 4 of 18. Tom Savage did fumble twice and lost both of them. Deshaun Watson, though, did fumble once. So the turnovers were there for both quarterbacks. Watson did have the interception. I'll talk about it at the end. No sacks, surprisingly, for a Houston Texans team that has a very good defense and defensive front. Nothing of note in the return games or special team game. No field goals were made. So Jacksonville, their defense is strong. They have strong secondary players. I think that may have helped them get the sacks. We'll talk Jacksonville, then we'll go into the quarterbacks, but it kind of works hand in hand. the quarterbacks it is for the Texans, because you have guys like Jalen Ramsey, you have A.J. Bowie, you have two shutdown guys that allows you to get sacks. Barry Church is another good secondary player, professional guy. Dante Fowler Jr. coming along. Malik Jackson, a guy you bring over. So Jacksonville's defense can certainly come along. Now, are they going to rely on Blake Bortles to only complete 11 passes on 21 yards? I'm sure if they can do that, they'll take it every game. They have the running game to do so, so you may have a blueprint for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll have to see. Once again, I told you with this game, all Blake Bortles has to do is be proficient. They have a chance, and Houston, with the struggling quarterback, could get away from him. Now, that Houston quarterback situation, it's been an issue for them for years. We know this. We'll have to see what happens moving forward. I would expect Deshaun Watson to be the starter from this point forward. I don't know why you don't start Deshaun Jackson to begin the game. It simply does not make any sense to me. He comes in, but look, as we said, Tom Savage had 2 fumbles, but Deshaun Watson had a fumble. They both played a half. Deshaun Watson had an interception. Tom Savage didn't have interceptions. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't start Deshaun Watson. I would start Deshaun Watson, but what do you do with this quarterback play? It's why I think Bill O'Brien mishandled the situation in preseason. He should have made Watson the starter and gone with him from there and say, look, if Watson struggles, then we go to Tom Savage because we have that defense and we'll see what happens. It's tough to, go to Watson after Tom Savage. If you had that quick of a trigger on Tom Savage where you're going to pull him after half, where it did have 2 fumbles, but he wasn't like atrocious, and Deshaun Watson didn't play that much better, then why are you not just starting Deshaun Watson from the beginning? So I don't know. We'll see. I'd expect Deshaun Watson to be the starter moving forward. But look, if Watson doesn't play better, you're going to have some serious situations because it's just going to be that quarterback carousel they've had in Houston for a long time now. All right, so that's it for the first part of the earlier games. We just see actually St. Louis had an interception. They're playing the Colts, so we'll keep an eye on those. Give you the rest of the other games in just a moment. Be sure to stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you all so much.